What if I told you that one of the greatest boxing managers in history built world champions using a secret psychological tool, a tool developed by a French pharmacist over a century ago? It's a method designed to tame the most powerful and, let's face it, unruly force we all possess, our own mind. So let's dive into how this simple technique could literally change everything. All right, so our story doesn't start in some lab or a pharmacy. Nope. It starts in the gritty, high-stakes world of championship boxing. This is a world where, sure, physical strength is a given, but it's mental fortitude that separates the contenders from the true legends. And right at the center of this world was a man named Cus D'Amato. Cus had this legendary reputation, you know? He could find fighters with raw talent, but maybe not much else, and he would transform them into these unstoppable forces, all by building their confidence from the ground up. And this was his core philosophy right here. For D'Amato, confidence wasn't just some nice side effect of winning. No, it was the very ingredient that created the win. He truly believed that with the right kind of confidence, anyone could surpass even a genius. But that just begs the question, right? How did he actually do it? How do you systematically install that kind of unshakable belief into your fighters? What was the actual technique? Well, here's the twist. To find the answer, we have to travel back in time. See, D'Amato didn't invent this method. He had actually unearthed it from a book published decades earlier by a guy who was, of all things, a pharmacist. Meet Emile Coué. He was working in his pharmacy in France around the turn of the 20th century, and he started noticing something really profound about his patients. His ideas eventually got published in the US back in 1922, and then, decades later, they found their way into the hands of Cus D'Amato, connecting French remedies to American boxing rings. Pretty amazing, right? Coué's big breakthrough came from a super simple observation he made every day in his pharmacy. He was seeing the placebo effect firsthand. He noticed that how he presented a remedy, the words he used, the confidence he projected, dramatically affected how well it worked. He realized people's own beliefs were a powerful medicine all by themselves. And this quote just perfectly captures his whole idea. Coué didn't see himself as some miracle healer. Nope. He saw himself as a teacher, someone who could show people how to tap into a power they already had to heal and improve themselves from the inside out. Okay, so what did he actually teach people to do? Well, it all came down to a simple, very specific, and surprisingly powerful daily ritual. At the absolute heart of his method was this single, simple affirmation, repeated every single day. Every day, in every way, I am getting better and better. And notice the phrasing there. It's not I will get better or I hope I get better. It's a calm statement of fact spoken directly to your unconscious mind. And Coué was super specific about this part. The phrase in every way was absolutely essential. It's this general catch-all suggestion that's designed to apply to everything. Your physical health, your mental state, your job, your mood. He argued this was way more effective than trying to target specific individual problems. So, here's the whole method at a glance. The timing is key. First thing in the morning and last thing at night. Why? Because that's when the mind is most relaxed and receptive. You repeat the phrase 20 times, and to keep your busy, conscious mind out of the way, you use a really simple tool. Let's just walk through it. First, you get comfortable. You close your eyes. Then, you say the words in a low, kind of monotonous voice, almost like a chant. And that 20-knot string, it's genius. It lets you count mechanically, sort of like a rosary, which stops your conscious brain from jumping in and trying to analyze or argue with the process. Okay, but why does this work? I mean, why not just use raw willpower to make changes? Well, this brings us to the core theory behind Coué's method, and honestly, for a lot of people, it's a real mind bender. Coué argued that when your willpower and your imagination are in conflict, your imagination doesn't just win, it always wins, every single time. Trying to force yourself to do something you imagine you can't do only makes it harder. So he said, the will must not be brought into play at all. The key then is to stop fighting your own mind with willpower and instead to persuade it through imagination. You're not forcing change. You are gently planting the seed of a new idea and just letting it grow. Coué had this incredible analogy for this. He said our imagination is like an untamed horse. If you just let it run wild, it can cause all sorts of trouble with fear and doubt. But, and this is the big but, if you learn how to harness it, if you give it direction, that same horse has the power to take you literally anywhere you want to go. And this whole process is what he called autosuggestion. It's basically a form of self-hypnosis, where you consciously implant an idea into your unconscious mind. That's the part that Coué believed was always awake, always listening, and incredibly, almost childishly ready to believe what it's told. So let's bring this full circle. How did this theory from a French pharmacist actually play out in Coué boxing gym? D'Amato lived and breathed this stuff. He had his fighters repeating these affirmations day in and day out. He even used it on himself. He tried to heal a cataract in his eye by constantly telling himself, I can see certain things, it's getting better. For Cuss, the mind was a muscle that had to be trained, and autosuggestion was the daily workout. Coué's belief in the power of the unconscious was so strong, he even advocated for starting this process in childhood. He actually told parents to go to their sleeping child's bedside and just murmur positive suggestions, believing their mind would accept them without any conscious resistance. And that kind of leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? This century-old method suggests that we all have this immense power inside us, an imagination that can either create chaos or build championships. So the real question for all of us is, in your own life, is your imagination an untamed horse, or have you decided to take the reins?